Will Smith, Alicia Keys, Neymar, Tom Brady. A host of stars attended an extravagant party held on October 27, 2024 in Saudi Arabia. On that date, the Saudi kingdom inaugurated Sindalah, an island dedicated to luxury tourism with great fanfare. One construction hides another, as the site is the first concrete realization of a huge project called Neom. Behind those four letters lies an extravagant ambition: to build a futuristic region worthy of a science fiction movie in the northwest of the country. How can you miss the line, an extravagant city that will be 170 kilometers long and 500 meters high? Or Trojena, a futuristic ski resort that will host the Asian Winter Games in 2029. These are crazy projects for now, only visible in 3D. Launched a few years ago, this extraordinary project, costing hundreds of billions of dollars, is still underway. Today, there are many amazing advances to be seen at the various sites. But complications abound for what is one of the craziest construction projects ever undertaken by man. Between serious accusations, budget overruns, and ecological disaster. As you will have understood, today we are flying to The Line, Oxagon, Sindalah, and Trojena, some of the projects that make up the Neom adventure, to discover the real progress made in 2025. Welcome everyone to this new episode of Looking For. To begin this overview, let's return to Sindalah. Located on the shores of the Red Sea, the island is now open to the public. This makes it the first Neom project to officially open its doors. This is good news, but it should be put into perspective, particularly given the size of the island. This cluster of hotels, luxury establishments, and other facilities for wealthy clients is a much smaller project than the new generation port of Oxagon or The Line, which we will discuss in this video. Sindalah is above all indicative of the financial missteps surrounding the Neom project. Indeed, the Wall Street Journal revealed that the construction had cost more than $4 billion, 3 times more than the initial budget. In its investigation, the newspaper also reports that more than $45 million was spent on the opening night alone. The event was not attended by the leading figure of modern Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. However, the man known as MBS is the main architect of Neom, which he considers essential to his Vision 2030 plan. This program aims to modernize the country and find a more sustainable economic model in anticipation of the end of oil revenues, which currently form the basis of the economic system. For Sindalah, the first few months of activity have not lived up to expectations. Several sources report that the area has been virtually deserted by tourists. It should be noted that despite the inauguration, not everything on the island is finished yet. The luxury hotel belonging to the Four Seasons hotel chain will not open until 2026. Similarly, the Sindalah Beach Club is still closed to the public, even though its progress seems significant. Still under construction, this is a reality that fits well with another key point in Neom, Oxagon. Intended as the maritime gateway to the region, Oxagon is set to become a new generation commercial port coupled with a floating city. Here, too, construction continues. Satellite images show that in 1 year, much progress has been made on the site. The shape of the port is clearly taking shape, and the first infrastructure is beginning to be installed, as can be seen in the photos posted on social media by Giles Pendleton, Director of Operations at Neom, which have been widely shared since. According to the established schedule, the first terminal is set to open in 2025. This schedule is not impossible to meet, given recent progress. It remains to be seen what it will be used for. Oxagon is located at one of the key points on one of the most vital arteries of international maritime trade between Europe and Asia. But apart from this initial infrastructure, the rest of the site seems to be struggling to get off the ground. The residential part is, for the moment, almost invisible on satellite images. Although it is due to be completed in 2030, it has been neglected for the time being. Except in 3D, where this city, intended to be energy efficient, is shown in great detail. Also in Oxagon, the world's largest green hydrogen plant, with funding of some $8.4 billion, seems to be on track. In a promotional video, Air Products, which is involved in the construction of the plant, announces that 80% of the facilities have already been built. It is scheduled to be operational in 2026. In the meantime, the flurry of announcements of blockbuster contracts continues. One of the latest is that developer DataVault has signed an agreement with Neom to build a data center requiring 1.5 gigawatts, which should be operational by 2028. The estimated cost of the operation is $5 billion. By way of comparison, the largest data center under construction in France will require 200 megawatts, 7 times less. These figures and announcements should be taken with a grain of salt, as project withdrawals receive much less media coverage. For example, still in Oxagon, the project for a huge water desalination plant, in which Veolia was involved, was not renewed in 2024. The reason given for the decision not to build this $2 billion facility? Changes in forecasts for water demand in the region, Neom explained soberly. However, the climate forecasts do not seem to be any more favorable for the 90,000 inhabitants planned for Oxagon. They will have to find drinking water elsewhere. In this futuristic region the size of Belgium, the challenges are immense. Perhaps even more so in the flagship project that everyone has been talking about, the urban utopia known as The Line. The initial ambition was titanic. A vertical glass and steel building 500 meters high, 200 meters wide, and stretching over 170 kilometers. When it was announced, the building was scheduled for completion in 2030. Since then, things have changed drastically. As we told you in a previous video that I'll put in the description, the project has been scaled back, and not just a little. In fact, in 2030, the new plan only calls for the delivery of 2.4 kilometers. This is a severe downsizing, but it will still make it by far the longest linear building in the world. The record is currently held by a huge residential block in Rome, the Corviale, which is 957 meters long. Divided into blocks, the line is designed to contain everything its residents could possibly want, from transportation with a high-speed rail line planned under the building, to shops, parks, and entertainment venues. This self-sufficient lifestyle is expected to attract nearly 9 million people in the long term. In a recent promotional video, the organizers revealed that work is now focusing more on 3 areas: modules 45, 46, and 47. The images show the sheer scale of the work being undertaken. After excavation work to remove 50 meters of depth at the site where the line will be built, more than 16,000 foundation piles, some measuring nearly 100 meters in length, will be driven into the ground to support the 3 modules. They will form the base of the superstructures that will then be built to reach a height of 500 meters. A concrete extravaganza, reinforced by nearly 5 million tons of steel. There will also be 2.1 million square meters of reflective glass covering the exterior of the building. As if the challenge were not enough, these first blocks near the Red Sea will be bordered by a huge marina. It's expected to be the largest man-made marina when it becomes operational. Designed as an arch, which would make the Arc de Triomphe in Paris look like a child's toy, this part of the line will be crowned by a football stadium. With 45,000 seats, it is already on the list of venues that will host matches for the 2034 World Cup in Saudi Arabia. It remains to be seen whether what is currently a 3D myth will still be relevant in 2034. Because for now, the various visuals and satellite images show a very different reality. Excavation work on this 2.4-kilometer area appears to be complete. In May 2025, the inevitable Giles Pendleton reported on social media about the ongoing activity at the line. The 16,000 foundation piles, some of which are 2.5 meters in diameter and weigh over 850 tons, are currently being installed. To give you an idea of the immensity of the task at hand, here's a comparison. For the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, only 192 piles had to be installed. For the time being, it's a forest of cranes and workers bustling about in hellish weather conditions, as the site is located in the middle of the desert. The weather conditions are not the only flaw in this extraordinary construction project. The influx of tens of thousands of workers to the Neom site has created overcrowding in the camps already built to accommodate them. In addition to a lack of sanitary facilities, 150 camps that do not comply with the standards set by the organizers have been identified, according to a survey published by the Wall Street Journal. Finally, on the roads around Neom, where thousands of trucks travel every day, road accidents are not uncommon, with infrastructure ill-suited to such heavy traffic. For its part, Neom responds that protecting the well-being of people working on the site is an absolute priority. But that's not all. The project is also experiencing financial setbacks. Initially estimated at $500 billion in total, the Neom project is now valued at $8.8 trillion by its board of directors, according to documents leaked to the press. That's almost 3 times France's GDP in 2023. For now, just for the line, $50 billion has been swallowed up. According to the Wall Street Journal investigation, this distortion of reality is partly due to unrealistic assumptions in the line's business plan. These assumptions were partly made by a well-known consulting firm in France, McKinsey, which reportedly earned $130 million in fees annually on the project. A spokesperson for the firm responded by saying that the claim that McKinsey was involved in the manipulation of financial reports is false. Nevertheless, this explosion in costs is bad news for the reliability of the project and for the Saudi kingdom. The latter had planned to finance Neom almost exclusively through the PIF, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund and sovereign wealth fund. But as powerful as it is, it will not be able to cover all the bills. Neom is therefore seeking investors abroad, particularly in China, without much success so far. Money will be needed to complete this Herculean task, undertaken with a very tight schedule, particularly in Trojena. The famous futuristic ski resort to be built in the Hedjaz mountain range seems to be progressing well. It remains to be seen whether it will be ready to host the Asian Winter Games in 2029. The shell of the Spectator Central building is currently under construction and is due to be delivered at the end of the year. On site, the first snow cannons, essential in a region where it hardly ever snows, are being tested. The delivery schedule for the hotels and chalets is set to begin in 2026 to 2027. The project therefore seems feasible, provided that the grueling pace of 24-hour work is maintained. However, this pace comes at the expense of working conditions and will quickly come to a halt if funding is cut.